it's about that time for some of the Liberals to start breaking their silence on why it is that they are leaving Justin Trudeau and not running for re-election. Surprise, surprise, it's not because it's that time for retirement, but rather because they are just fed up with pretty much everything Justin Trudeau has to offer and everything that is going on, aka losing and being horribly ridiculed by all of Canada. And then the reflection of that would be in the polls. And so they all know that they're not going to get reelected. So they're throwing the towel in early. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. We got a couple of different clips pulled up. We've got Freeland. We're going to start off with Freeland commenting on what she thinks about the Liberals that are throwing in the towel early. And then we have a one-on-one interview that we're taking a look at of one of the Liberal MPs who has thrown in the towel and is saying, I'm not running for a re-election, and like kind of an in-depth explanation as to why. And then if we do have time, we're going to have a previous Conservative campaign manager chime in on just how catastrophic, because this is like horrible. It's not just bad press. It's not just a lot of bad press. It's catastrophic that all of these Liberals are doing everything simultaneously, one after another. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a coffee or a drink, an alcoholic drink if you need it to get through this. But let's get through this together here. Starting off with Freeland.
Every single one of my colleagues who's made the very difficult and serious decision not to run again is a person I really respect and is a person I have worked with very closely. So it's a personal loss for me. These are really hardworking, dedicated, elected people who have given so much to work hard to serve their constituents and serve their Canadians. So, you know, Philomena, Carla, Marie-Claude, Dan, I just want to say, I'm sad. I'm going to miss you. Thank you so much for all your hard work and dedication. It's a really personal choice to put your hand up to work hard to serve Canadians. And I respect the decision of every single person who chooses to do that. And I respect the decision of every single person who makes the decision to retire and step back from public life. But each of those ministers has my very deep gratitude. The Prime Minister has my full support as leader of our government, as leader of our party. The Prime Minister has been very clear that he intends to lead us into the next election, and he has my full support in doing that. I have a lot of respect.
I believe her. I 100% believe her when she says that she has the full support in Justin Trudeau going into the next election. I absolutely believe her. She is going down with the ship. And that's phenomenal. I couldn't ask for a more poetic ending to the end of Chrystia Freeland's political career. For every single member of our caucus, and you have 5 of us here today. And am I right? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And you know, we spend a lot of time together. We spend a lot of time talking with each other. Canada's a parliamentary democracy, and that means that our government is formed based on our caucus. We are a government because we have the plurality of hard-working individual people who worked hard to get elected by their constituents, by their communities, and who represent them every single day. So in a very real way, our caucus is our government, and I take that very seriously, and I take the perspective and the ideas and the work and the contribution of each caucus member extremely seriously. Obviously, in our caucus, as in any caucus, there is going to be a wide range of views. I am absolutely confident that the vast majority of members of our caucus support the Prime Minister. Okay, so that's just some weird collateral damage. she's claiming that in every single caucus it would be a vast difference in views. That doesn't make sense at all. I don't think that every single person in the Conservative Party has 100% aligned views, but it's not that vast. Or else they wouldn't be in the Conservative caucus, right? And so this claim that the Liberals have such vast views, yeah, we are seeing it with people leaving, people revolting, with prorogation on the table, not on the table, with people criticizing openly Justin Trudeau when they are Liberals, when they are sworn elected Liberals. Like, this is insane. You guys have a tremendous mess on your hands, and that's not supposed to happen. Even the NDP has their shit together way better than what you guys have. Even the Bloc, even the Green Party has their ducks in a row way more than what you guys have. Like, that's just a ridiculous claim. And I'm glad I caught that, because I feel like, that could have just gone over my head. And I'd hate for people to just hear that and say, oh, yeah, no, wide range of views in the Liberals. That's not how it's supposed to be. The wide range of views is the political spectrum. And depending on where your views are, you're likely to go the route of Conservatives or Liberals. But within the Liberal cabinet, within the Conservative cabinet, no, man, you shouldn't have that wide range of views. But that's my opinion, and I would love to know yours down below in the comments. And then we do have to take a look at Minister Carla. Who is she? Right? I know this is one of the people that is leaving. So there's a mixture of, kind of front runners that have been Liberal MPs for a very long time. Then there's a mixture of backbench Liberals. Carla is, maybe once upon a time, she was a middle person, front middle. Now she's kind of middle back. But let's take a look at her one-on-one interview with CTV and the reasons she is leaving or not running for re-election. And we're going to dissect that, because, again, wording here matters. These are elected officials. They don't just put together random words for the sake of putting together random words. So her choice of words, we're going to dissect.
It was a parade of cabinet ministers today praising the Prime Minister and giving Justin Trudeau their unwavering support. Now, it comes after 4 ministers announced they will not be running in the next election. They are Marie-Claude Bibeau, Philomena Tassi, Dan Vandel, and Carla Qualtrough.
Okay, so the people here on the left side announced Thursday, these are not front runners. These are not people that are, Justin Trudeau's, main people. I guess Carla has answered. I mean, look, she's sports minister. She used to be something else. They keep getting shuffled around, right? She used to answer some questions within the first 20, 30 minutes of question period when asked by, opposition parties, but no longer does. And then Pablo Rodriguez has been, Justin Trudeau's, he's been like really close to his side. I don't want to say right-hand man. I feel like that would be, Dominic, or that would be maybe Champagne, but nonetheless, Seamus O'Regan, like, he's been around for a long, long, long time. And so all these people here, it's just crazy to me. It's crazy to me that you're seeing all of these Liberals just get up and jump ship all within 6 months.
Those announcements come as 2 other members of Trudeau's inner circle also left the federal party. Seamus O'Regan has decided to spend more time with his family, while Pablo Rodriguez is seeking the leadership of the Quebec Liberal Party. Joining me now to talk about her decision to step away from cabinet is the Minister of Sport and Physical Activity, Carla Qualtrough. Hi, Minister. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
CTV News did reach out to your office to ask whether or not you'd be running in the next election. This was back in October. And on October 7th, your office responded, quote, Minister Qualtrough has said she is running in the next federal election. So 10 days later, your statement came out saying that it's time to step aside. It's time to move on. So I wanted to know what changed in that time.
Well, to be honest, nothing changed. But at that point, I hadn't confided in my staff. I hadn't had my final conversation with the Prime Minister. My kind of position was I was running until I made a final decision not to. And so nothing really changed. This has been a a long time coming for me after 3 elections in 9 years. And I felt that, I had done the work to put in place the option for myself to run again. And I was running until I wasn't.
And what was that conversation like with the Prime Minister, and when did you have it?
Well, as I said, it's been a series of conversations over many, many years in terms of talking to the Prime Minister about the realities of being a BC MP, being a mom with young kids, the kind of the lived experience of the travel and the goodbyes and the tears and the anxiety and the public scrutiny for my family. And just in the past probably 6 months, we've had some pretty candid conversations about what my future would look like. And then finally, I'd say, I guess it wasn't till early October that I went and told him, it's time. And of course, he stated a strong preference for me to stay, but he understood, and he'd seen how tough this had become. But it's been an incredible ride.
Is it because you didn't feel like you had a proper future within the party that you decided to walk away?
Oh my goodness. No, it is totally because it's been 3 elections, 9 years. I actually think the Prime Minister would have me on his team for as long as I would stay. We have a great relationship. I hope I build a reputation of being hardworking and a good advisor.
So it's very, very rare, but it does happen where some people at the very peak, they jump ship, and that remains a reputation. And then once your reputation starts coming down to the point where you realize there is not going to be a bounce up, that's when a lot of people, once they acknowledge that realization or come to that realization, they say, okay, I guess I'm done. You see it all the time with actors or even specifically athletes. Once they hit their peak and they start to, not be as relevant, that's when like, okay, I guess I'm retiring. And that's kind of the best analogy that I have for people that we're seeing that are jumping ship, right? They're saying, hey, I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And it's very interesting because if they had good confidence that they were going to get reelected, that Justin Trudeau would remain as prime minister, and that we would, still have a Liberal government 13 months from now after the next election, then why would they jump ship? I mean, it's a relatively easy job in comparison to quite literally everything else in the world. Like, these guys get incredible pay, incredible benefits. They work like half of the year. They never really have to answer a single question. But unfortunately, what's carried towards the Liberals is the bad press, all the negativity, and also the fact that it's very unlikely that any of these people are going to get reelected. So at least she had the smarts to call it quits before she failed miserably and did not get reelected. But nonetheless, I mean, she's like complicit in this country being completely destroyed. So at the same time, yeah, her resignation is long overdue.
And candid and sometimes challenging. But no. It absolutely to do with it's just run its course, and my family needs me here in Delta.
Yeah, and they say timing is everything, but you are leaving at a time when the Liberals trail the Conservatives by about 20 points in opinion polls. And there are sources that are telling CTV News there are a number of MPs ready to give the Prime Minister a letter telling him that it's time to go. The Liberals did this summer lose 2 by-elections. Does this decision have anything to do with the possibility or even probability of you losing your seat out in BC?
To be honest, quite the opposite. I think it made it more difficult for me to walk away. I would have put that in the column of reasons to stay, is to fight in the next election, to how important I think the next election is going to be, the risk that I think there is of losing the progress we've made as a government. Absolutely. I think I would have, this was coming, Mike. This wasn't.
No, it wasn't coming. That's why you've never made the announcement. That's why you're waiting until after, tensions with India have skyrocketed. They've ballooned out of control. You've got Khalistan supporters in the streets right now as we speak, just going insane with protests, and they're getting quite violent. That's why you have Palestinian protesters, Hamas sympathizers that are saying, hey, death to Canada, right? And they're burning Canadian flags. That's why you waited until other people have also said, you know what, this is too greasy for me to stay attached to. If she really believed the things that she just said she does, of we need to fight the good fight, the greater good, this is the most important election ever, we need to preserve the process that we've made, then she wouldn't be throwing in the towel. No amount of fatigue, no amount of exhaustion would prevent somebody from doing that. If you truly felt like your country was on verge of collapse because evil conservatives were about to become, more powerful and axe the tax and provide less government and more freedoms for people, if you really felt, Canada was super endangered by Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party, you wouldn't be leaving it while also admitting that it was extremely important, the upcoming election, and how it's like, the end of Canada if Pierre wins, right? Like that's so contrary to each other. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
And this isn't reactionary at all. Whatever the polls were, I actually feel like if the polls had been higher, it would have been easier to walk away knowing Delta would be in good hands and knowing the country was headed in a good direction. I don't know, maybe that's a bit, I don't know, but I feel like it made the decision more difficult.
So how concerned are you about the next election then?
First of all, I think that Canada would continue to be better off with a Liberal government. I actually believe we can turn it around. I think that, what I hear here in Delta is a whole range of views between, support for the Prime Minister and the government and blaming the Prime Minister and the government for everything. And I think that there's a lot of work to kind of change the channel and get back to the business of running the country and cut through the noise. But I think it can be done. And I think I don't even know how to describe it, once we get back to the core of what we've done and what we want to do for the country, I think we can turn this around. I think we have to.
So then I guess the question is that if you believe if you get back to the core of what you've been doing, then why hasn't that resonated with Canadians? Is it a communications issue? Is it the messenger that is the wrong one now for Canadians at this time?
Yeah, I think it's the challenge of having governed for 9 years. I think it's the kind of heightened anxiety just that exists writ large across the country, the uncertainty of these times. I think we have to have important conversations. And getting back to your reference to what's going on within our own caucus, I really believe that we need to have those frank conversations with caucus, and we need to all 100% get on the same page about this. And because if we can't, as a group of 150, how can we expect 40 million people to follow us anywhere?
When you say on the same page, what is the page that you're on right now about where caucus needs to go and where this party needs to go, specifically in regards to the leadership of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau?
Well, a couple of things in that question. First of all, I think that we need to have these conversations in private. I'm really disheartened that this is playing out publicly. I think it undermines the confidence in our party and in the government. I think that caucus is the place.
See, everything that she's saying is contradicting. I don't think we should be having these conversations in public, yet you're doing a CTV panel about the fact that you're leaving. Like, this woman deserves to be voted out, not to go down on her own sword the way she wants by announcing that she's stepping down come time for re-election. Like, I am so furious with these people. They know that they are tanking in the polls. They know there's going to be a blue wave like Canada has likely never seen before. And so they are still trying to gaslight us. It's unbelievable. Just admit it. Just say the truth for once in your life. You got nothing else to lose. You've already admitted that you put your 30 days in or your 1 year notice in. Like, just admit the truth.
To dig in on this, and I'm disheartened and more than frustrated. Like, I don't know a bigger word to describe when things leak from our caucus, because what happens then is people aren't frank in caucus, and then we don't hear the candor we need as a cabinet and as the Prime Minister to course correct, to pivot, to make the difficult decisions and move forward. But I think people gotta start having these, like, staying within the confines of caucus. There are other avenues. Talk to cabinet, talk to the PM directly, talk to the party. But secondly, around the PM's leadership, I think I believe very strongly that the Prime Minister has the best interest of the country, and the Liberal Party itself at heart. And making big and difficult decisions means having these frank conversations. And I think that, my job is to give him the best advice I can, the most honest advice, which I do. But I trust his judgment, and it's his decision to make.
And you think he can win the next election?
I do. But I also think that he's very capable of taking in all the advice that all of us are giving him and making a decision, because I honestly believe he will assess what's in the best interest of the country, in his opinion, and what's in the best interest of the party. And whatever decision he makes, it's his to make, and I will support that decision just like he has supported my decisions.
And I ask you that because each one of the statements by your fellow cabinet ministers who announced that they were leaving mentioned how they support the Prime Minister, but yours did not. Why is that?
Oversight. I don't think you should read anything into it except for it was just what I was feeling and the things I wanted to say and the people I wanted to thank, including the Prime Minister, my family, the things that I've been proud to have been part of achieving as the government. I absolutely support the Prime Minister. It was just, I actually don't know. It just was, I wouldn't read anything into that.
Okay, and so I guess the reason I keep sort of asking you about the leadership and the conversations that you've had with him, and you said he's seemed receptive to it, but it doesn't seem like this government is course correcting. Oftentimes the communication from this government is that, we need to let Canadians know that we're going to continue doing this work and that the work continues. But that doesn't seem to resonate with Canadians. What do you think is needed in terms of a course correction from this party specifically so that it does resonate with Canadians and maybe the polls start to turn in the Liberals' favor?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I hear you on what you're saying. I'm often surprised when people don't, when I say something and people don't realize that had been done or we had done that or that level of progress had been achieved. I can tell you from my perspective, I tend to do the thing, move on to the next thing and not talk enough about the thing we did. I think that we would do better by very clearly articulating what are the 2 or 3 things that we think will impact the lives of the most Canadians. But it's tough, Mike, when you're so busy doing. I'm sorry, I'm not a communications expert, but I know it from my own experience in the portfolios I've been in. I've just constantly just moved on to the next thing and moved on to the next thing and moved on to the next thing. And not maybe taking the time to tell Canadians what we've been up to.
Yeah, and I take your point on, the communications aspect of it, but do you think that part of it is maybe the Liberal Party and possibly even this coming from the centre at Prime Minister's office and the PMO, that they think that Canadians should just realize that what is happening is good news as opposed to actually communicating with them properly and telling Canadians what is going on and giving Canadians a proper idea of what this Liberal Party has as a future? Because I think when Canadians hear that we're going to continue to do the work, a lot of people that I know look at it and say, well, that work that you're doing right now isn't making me better off right now.
I understand. I honestly don't think, though, that we take anybody's vote or anybody's understanding of what we're doing for granted. I don't see it that way. If anything, I think we're doing so much that it is a bit of a scattered approach, and it's hard to message when you're doing so much. But listen, I don't think we take anything for granted.
Do you think that that's one of the problems when you say scattered and so much, and that this government is maybe lacking focus in that way?
100%.
No, not at all. I just think we had some big ideas and we came in wanting to do big things, and we're doing big things, but we're also doing a whole bunch of comparatively little, although they're big things to the people they impact, things.
No, see, the problem with Canada, with the Liberals at least, is that we have a tremendous amount of debt. It's almost like somebody who's addicted to shopping and has maxed out all their credit cards, and now they're transferring one balance on to the next. And that's our Liberal government right now, doing that with all of our money, like billions and billions of dollars, and making us, perpetuating our debt even further. So all of these big ideas, like she just admitted that they have lack of focus. I'm really glad that the CTV, news anchor reporter is not really just taking her answers at face value and saying, yeah, but You might believe what you're saying, but that doesn't make any sense. And so I actually agree on a very rare occasion here with the CTV reporter that they are tremendously lacking focus. Like, they're everywhere. All of these different social programs happening at once. They've got all of these different things from coast to coast to coast, and they're not focusing on like solving a lot of our issues, even just tackling one at a time, right? Stop giving out free drugs. Start putting people through a form of rehab, get people the proper care, solve the drug crisis. Okay, that took 2-3 years. Move on to the next one. Let's go after homelessness. Let's go after housing. Like, we can do that. We have a lot of money. We pay a lot of taxes. We're one of the highest tax countries in the world. We have a lot of money, and we don't have a whole lot of obligations. Our 2% GDP contribution to the defense budget is something that we still are not missing. And Trudeau's bragging about the fact that he's sitting like 1.5%, but yet we're sending billions and billions of dollars when we aren't obligated to other countries to fight their wars and to help them with their stuff, when we have our own issues, our own debt to worry about. Like, in 100 years from now, in 50 years from now, Canada could go completely bankrupt. We've seen this with other countries, other economies that were once thriving, and then they just got greedy. They had really shitty management, and then everything collapsed. And I just see the same, the same trajectory that Canada is headed on. And it just breaks my heart, because I don't want that for my kids. I really don't want that.
That it's just, there's so much content. Like, we are policy rich, we are program rich, we are content rich. We're not just doing one thing that we talk about every day, and it's the only thing we talk about, and everybody's on message, and like, we are all off doing our things that we have been asked to do. Maybe we could be a little more coordinated, but I'm honestly not even sure that's it. We're just all so busy getting things done.
So, having been someone who's in the machine of government, and as you said, doing so much at the same time, how disappointing is it to you that all of that work is going into it from where you sit, and that it doesn't seem to be resonating with Canadians when you see the polls?
Actually, I'm not sure. It's not a matter of being disappointed, but to me, it's the risk of losing all that progress because Canadians don't know what has been done, don't always know what's been done. So I'm not disappointed that Canadians don't know. I'm very confident in our legacy. I'm confident in the difference we've made every single day in people's lives. But I want people to understand what's at risk, that these things that have become part of the daily fabric of how government runs are at risk in the upcoming election. And I don't know. I think we have to think really hard about all of the questions, like the valid questions you've been asking.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Minister Carla Qualtrough, thank you so much for taking the time today. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It seems like total denialism, massive amounts of projecting, and I mean, did I say total denialism and delusionary, mindset? I mean, that's the woke mind virus, right? That's exactly what it's doing, and we're seeing it in real time. Just hijack somebody's brain to the point where they are literally sniffing their own farts. I don't understand it. This country is needing massive change in management, and we're getting closer and closer every single day. I mean, even if we don't get an election today, even though there wasn't an election yesterday, we're getting closer and closer to the next scheduled federal election, or a pop-up election, a snap election, and I'm looking forward to when that day comes. But again, this is the end of the video. I've shared my opinion, and now it's time, if you would like, to share yours. I'd love to know what you guys have to say down below in the comments. If you haven't yet already, I'd like to encourage you guys to like the video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.